After 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you. Welcome to it. Here we go again. It's a Thursday evening, and you know what that means. It's time for Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show. My name is Kambula, trusting that you've had a lovely Thursday leading up to the program that we're going to be having this evening. It is your Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show, and it's happening as always on a Thursday. And today is not going to be any different. We're going to be discussing matters of importance here in the studio. 0800 142 446. That's our toll-free number that I would like you to use as we go on with the show. Should there be any question or maybe comment that you have, would like to encourage you to use that number. It's a toll-free number if you're going to be using a landline. If you're using a cell phone, call us in, we'll take your details down and call you back. Joining me in the studio is somebody that's not a stranger to us. In fact, she's been here a number of times. She specializes in the subject matter that we're going to be discussing this evening. In fact, she's holding up the position of heading up the promotion of the rights of vulnerable groups at the Department of Justice and Correctional Development. This is Advocate Praise Kambula with us in the studio, and it's a very good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time and coming back again to brace us with your presence.
Thank you, Nakuba Budel.
Nantoke, I'm very delighted to hear that. Let me encourage you to do the same. You can use any language of your choice. If you want to speak in English, obviously more than welcome to do that. It's Xhosa, if you there we go. I need to get that phrase correctly though, in the vendor one, the vendor part leading to talking. So we're going to be doing a lot of talking this evening because we're going to be focusing on what we call GBVF. There we go. So GBV, you know it very well. This time around, we've got an added letter at the end, GBVF, which is gender-based violence and femicide. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. All right. It is a new concept to a lot of people, and always I do this. I would like to start with the very, very basics. A lot of people might say, that's bad interview. It's actually not. We cannot take for granted that some of the things that you and I spoke about, that we have spoken about in the past, some people don't know. They're hearing it for the first time. So let's break it down. So GBVF, what is it?
GBVF is actually a new acronym that South Africa has come up with. You will not hear it from any other country. And the reason for that, in South Africa, as you know that in November last year, the president hosted a presidential summit against gender-based violence and femicide. And it was during that process of preparing, as you know, that it was the Department of Justice that was actually working with the presidents in putting this together.
Yes.
So a decision was made in South Africa that we have what we call as the country, as the world is speaking of gender-based violence.
Right.
But in South Africa, let's include a femicide as well to that acronym for obvious reasons. That is the studies that have been done in the country, the last which was done in 2009, showed that South Africa is quite leading in the whole world in terms of intimate femicide. And we do not think that that scenario has ended since 2009, because we have been seeing an unprecedented increase of femicide, which is different types of femicide that we have been experiencing in the country. I will mention like the intimate femicide. As you know, that the intimate femicide is the killing of a female person by an intimate partner. And we also have what we call as the cultural, we call it the racial and spiritual femicide. It is the killing of women for multi purposes, taking cutting off the breast, the private parts, and other parts to make mutis. And we have been seeing a number of those cases now, even with the people living with albinism have been, cut and mutilated, and for multi purposes. And we also have what we call the HIV-related femicide. It is when a partner kills, a person kills another one, when you have an intimate relationship with that person, because of the fact that you have discovered, one, that she, that is the victim, she is HIV positive, or you have discovered that you are HIV positive, so you killed your partner, so that by the time that the signs become conspicuous, then everybody, you have somebody to point your finger at, that is the deceased.
Who cannot speak for themselves.
And you also have, now we have also included the sexual orientation femicide, that is those, the killing of lesbians, the killing of people because of the fact that you belong to the LGBTQIA+ group. So it is all those, so we're putting those all together now to say that in South Africa we have to have a prevention strategy against femicide. But of course that what we're going to be talking about today is broader than this, is what the president spoke about yesterday. Which
I'm looking forward to. 19 after 6, 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. If you're calling from a cell phone, let me ask you to please call us in, and we'll take your details down and call you back. I wonder if that aircon is off, if you can help me with that. I'm just struggling with a bit of flu, so if I do sound like a Barry White, he's not back from the grave. No, it's just me and my flu. So pardon me for that. But the show has got to go on. I got to tell you this: President Ramaphosa participated in a dialogue on femicide and gender-based violence and the killing of people and albinism in Lusikisik. And I'll tell you this one thing: I was part of it. Was part of that whole thing that happened there. And I listened to what the president's got to say. The dialogue was part of a work in progress towards establishment of the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Council and a national strategic plan that's got to be established. Now, that's a couple of days ago. This is 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, right? Then yesterday, was it yesterday or today? It was yesterday. Yesterday, he convened cabinet and
the joint sitting.
The joint sitting where, in my own words, trying to come up with resolutions very, very, very quickly to deal with this.
It's about injecting the political will.
Let's talk about that.
In issues of gender-based violence. Remember that our president responded to the march.
Yes.
There was a march on the 1st of August that was led by the Total Shutdown, the hashtag Total Shutdown movement, and also in other provinces it was led by the help desk of Young Women's Desk of the ANC.
Right.
So, but so the president on that day received demands in his capacity as the president of the country, that is from the hashtag, the Total Shutdown movement, and also in his capacity as the president of the ANC from the Young Women's Desk of the ANC. So from all of those, then he responded to one demand. No, I'm not saying that was the only, but amongst the demands that he responded
one that stands out.
Yes, it was the one that was actually demanding that he host a summit, a national summit in the country, which is something that he did on the 1st and the 2nd of November. So from there, then we came up with a declaration. A summit, a presidential summit declaration by all women in South Africa coming from all spheres of life. So the summit declaration has got 19 19 articles, and it was the Department of Justice that actually assisted women in putting that together.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
and one of the articles there, it requires the government to put together a presidential council against gender-based violence, which must be championed by the president.
Right.
So then it is one of the issues then that the president is responding to. And it also has one article that says that there must be an interim a GBVF steering committee that is established, that will have the representation from both the civil society and government.
In fact,
that was established by the presidency on the 14th of February, responding to the demand. So it is that structure then that has been moving along with the presidency's commitments and ensuring that we execute them, working with the government, its government and the civil society working together. It's a structure that is co-chaired by the presidency and also the civil society. So now the presidency required the Department of Justice to put together a legislation because it is one of the demands of, the articles. No, it's one of the articles. The Presidential Summit Declaration, that we should put together a legislation that will be governing the operations of the National Council Against Gender-Based Violence, the one that will be championed by the president. So we are in a process right now. There's a first draft that has been produced in a process of putting together that legislation that will ensure that that structure has got powers, and also ensuring that then it involves the political sector, and also all spheres of life, actually, all formations in the country. Because if you talk about gender-based violence and femicide, it starts from individual. It goes to the family unit and the community as well. So society as a whole. So we are all having responsibility to stop it. It's not government alone. It is you as a parent at home. You have a responsibility of stopping it. Because there's no child who is raped, who's born called a rapist, as the president said yesterday. Yeah. So it is everybody's responsibility in the country to put this scourge to an end.
One of the biggest things I would like to say at this present moment is the fact that, evil prevails because good people are sitting and doing nothing. So, and it's time for us not to only stand up and talk about these things, but it's time for us to really act on them. Acting on them, we'll explore that, how we can act and how we can assist government in curbing the scourge of a GBVF that we're talking about this evening. Welcome to it. If you've just joined us, we about 10 minutes into the show, 20 minutes into the show. My mathematics served me right. Maybe it's not mathematics, Palo. That's why I'm not sure whether I get 10 or 20. But we're into the show, and we're chatting to Advocate Praise Kambula, somebody who's not a stranger to us. She's heading up the promotion of the Rights of Vulnerable Groups unit in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Let me urge you to speak to us this evening. Let me hear how you see these things. What do you think the problem is in the country? How do you think we can go forward? It was very interesting for me to watch the ladies that stood up in Lusikisiki during the dialogue. And something that was very, very interesting that a lady mentioned who was a victim. I don't want to call him a victim, it does not end there. But she's an overcomer of the scourge, was the fact that government needs to look into creating courts specifically to deal with a GBV. What is your take on that?
Yeah, we already have the sexual offences courts, as you know, and now the minister last week launched the 94th sexual offences court in South Africa, and that in Sibasa.
Yes,
and in the rural community of Sibasa.
Yes.
Because as a department, we want to ensure that there's an equal distribution of all these services, irrespective of your geolocation.
Right.
So every victim has a right to get all these support services.
Yeah.
So we might say that we need courts to be there,
Right.
but I want to go back to what I said, that courts are actually at the end of the value chain, at the end. So they are sort of responsive. But we need now as a country to come up with prevention measures.
Yeah.
As the president said yesterday to those who listened, he spoke about prevention. And if we are not diverting resources, adequate resources to prevent GBVF, we will struggle as a country. We're
just going to be responsive all the time.
Yeah.
We're not going to be proactive at all.
We need to be proactive, as you say. So now, with the courts that we have the sexual offences courts that are actually providing support services, a basket of support services to the victims of sexual offences. These are the courts that I normally say that they feel for the victim. Because they have been, the support services that are providing are support services that are responding to the actual needs of the victims of sexual offences. Remember that when you have been raped, some of the women, they hate themselves. Absolutely. They will have bath showers endlessly, and they will think that it's my fault. And it's also embarrassing. There is a stigma attached to a victim of sexual offences, and I wonder why. Why is it on the victim and not on the offender? But those are the societal perceptions that we need to put to an end. Yeah. And so then when the victim of sexual offences come to our courts, so the first thing is you get a call from the court preparation officer who's gonna inform you that when you come in, there's a separate entrance that is for you. And so I will be collecting you at that place. Okay. So the reason for that is because of shame, embarrassment, of them not wanting to be identified even by the people who are walking about in the court, because remember that court has got a lot of court users, so they don't want to be identified. And then secondly, they are moved from their private entry point into the private waiting area, which got information as they are sitting there waiting for them, for the time for their case to be called. So they have information that speaks to them, issues that deal with how do I deal with my emotions if I have fear of this and all of that. And there is a court preparation program that they are taken through. And the court preparation program then, it is about informing them of their right as a witness. That is, when I go to testify, it informs them of all the different roles of the court personnel, that is what the magistrate's role is all about, what the prosecutor's role, and all those things, and even your role as a witness. And it also then built into that court preparation program is also what we call the pre-trial emotional containment service, which is about making them to be emotionally ready to testify, because we don't want to take a victim who is traumatized
already
to testify and having flashbacks and all that, because what will mean is that then we won't get what prosecution needs from that victim. Remember that you are coming to court to give testimony, to say that this is what actually happened to me. So you must be emotionally ready and mentally ready, to give that testimony. And then if you are a child, then you get what we call the intermediary services. Intermediary services is the intermediary actually is somebody who's there in the private testifying room with the child, and to convey the questions from the court to the child and back from the child to the court, but particularly from the court to the child in a language that the child will best understand. And
we saw that happening recently with the Draws case.
Yeah.
I believe that was the fact.
Exactly.
That was a good example of what you're talking about.
Which people actually could not understand as to why are we taking a child to court to testify.
Yes.
But if you may allow me to explain as
of course,
to
sure.
the reason for that is that we cannot prosecute successfully without evidence. We need evidence. And the person against whom a crime was committed is the best evidence that we need to nail the accused. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, without that evidence, then the accused will be acquitted. That's what the law says. But we have actually made the criminal justice system to be responsive to the needs of the victim, of the child, and to be sensitive that it is a child. So that is why then the Department of Justice has hired intermediaries that are for the child witnesses.
And they're trained to handle the child's emotions.
Exactly.
Even at that point of asking questions.
And a child, let me say this, a child is when a child gets to our courts, go to a private waiting area, which is for the children, as sees there's television, there are toys, doesn't even know that I'm in the court environment set up, because we don't want that.
Of course.
And then from there is taken to a private testifying room that's got also a small child's bed, and the intermediary is there, and the intermediary is wearing what we are wearing right now.
Right.
What do you call this? The earphones.
Yeah, he's wearing. I don't know, but
yes.
the things.
Whatever that you are wearing. So the intermediary is having that. So the child does not even know, even at the testifying room, doesn't know that he's at the court, because he's sitting with this beautiful, hopefully they are beautiful.
Those?
No, the intermediaries.
Oh, the intermediaries.
Yes.
Hopefully they are beautiful.
They've already built the rapport with the child.
Yeah.
So the child is looking at this person, that this person is asking, these questions in a way that is sensitive and age appropriate. So to the child, and the child does not even see the courtroom, does not even see the accused, does not even hear, does not have the direct contact with the perpetrator. So it's like, what happened? Would you please tell me what happened on that day? Okay, you met so and so. Yes. And and a child will be responding in an age appropriate language. So that will be converted to the court. So it's basically getting that information from the child's perspective and having it now interpreted for the court personnel in a way that the law requires it.
Absolutely awesome. 26 before 7, 0800 142 446. At this point in time, let me just welcome Ms. Tamara Mathebula, and she's the chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality, CGE as we know it. It's a very good evening to you, Tamara.
Good evening to you.
Thank you so much.
Your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us. I haven't forgotten about you, Tamara. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a caller very quickly, and then we're going to come back to you. Just hang tight for us, okay?
Fine.
Okay, there we go. Again, give me Mathebula on the line. Let's take that caller quickly and hear what people have got to say. Unfortunately, I can't see the name on the screen. We'll just refresh that. Yeah, the link is broken for some reason. We'll just have to refresh that so I can see all these names coming up on the screen. For now, I'll just say good evening to you, caller. Who am I speaking to?
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah,
You well, man? Okay, I did that, so I think you should close that other channel, Tamara. Close Tamara's channel. Let's keep that one open. All right. Kambula, man?
And Limpopo province,
all right, thank you so much for calling us. Pushwal neta ring botate. Bothata ga ra banna le basadi a bona.
Yeah, bothata fela ke talking influence from the leadership. Ye khosang gore o be le hate interest. Just like a sample, this sample is here. We have a toriso ya basadi le bana. that thing already, monna o molo mo se anana other way around. Mo ba tshwantse gore ha ile gore ba agisana, ba re tlhoriso ya banna, basadi le bana. Lena banna, le tlhompeng basadi ba lena ka malapeng, le lena basadi, le tlhompeng banna se la ba ya ba nkela fatshe. Right.
I respect what you're saying, but get the figures, for instance, in terms of what you're saying right now. Let's about the figures that every 3 hours a woman is raped.
Yes.
Now, obviously the focus in this instance of it's on ebe mobasadi because rabona nomoro tša ona ile tsona tše lengore di godimo go phala tša banna e re a tseba gore banna ba hlorišwa le bona fela onjwa tše dipalopalo tše re di bonang di bontšha gore basadi ke bona ba e leng gore ba hlorišwa gagolo.
Yeah, e re ke tamo yo ya re Leona, you must be very, very careful how you try it because setting at how can you it's not rape. We know what a rape is. A certain manner the rape is Mara, most of them, there is an agreement. So, here no na wena umutom kita mang una lebokai ha una bokai. So nto e khona o dira mosadi to tswari ke approach engwe lori. Yena ha khona o bona ka ra motlhokomedi. O tsisa matho wena hore are I want to touch you. How come o bua so buang? How sina anything? O to atlor le ko pele ba mo favor. Ha ka di re fela o reiti.
Okay, ngere go butse ka mgo e bjang ka gona ore bontši ba tsona ga se rape. Are be on a scale of 10. So between 1 and 10, o ka re which number e ka re bontšang gore a se rape would 40% ya ona it's not the fact or o ka di bja jang? Because it's very interesting what you're saying. And I'm telling you now that after calling phone, listeners are going to call them. They're going to bite your head off.
Yes. We know there are some rapes and jewelry we don't want them. And because I tell you, for an example, to 4 years. You know, it's a rape. That's not a rape.
Man, no, bro.
Yeah, today. See our learner tabaluki. That's why no one about 5 to 6 years.
Okay. Okay, all right.
It is what when it is not rape?
Yeah, no, let's talk. I don't really. I was just about to say, okay, let's go to the next caller, but I'm glad that you're chipping in and you're asking a question.
What is what?
All right, let's talk about these things, right? And let me invite more callers to call in. I would like us to talk about this. And here's an interesting thing. This has never come on air before. So, as a rape, what is it? Really jwang khane bele ga roblela lena le mkhathile re ta mo founela gape mo founeleng gape nkere gore other listeners I beg your pardon let's hear what other listeners have got to say. But did you hear that angle?
I did not get all of what you
most
saying.
Of it of what he's saying. You'll hear other listeners, you'll hear the challenge coming from listeners. Most of what he's saying no, most of the time these are not rapes.
It's what?
It's a way in which women are getting back at men to say will prove a fact to them. He adds on to say, women are so conscious these days that they feel they've got power. They can just go and report rape, even if it's not rape. Okay. This is the angle. This is where he's coming from.
That's a sad perception.
It is a sad.
But of course, he's not the only one who is having that perception. So it's something that we need to address vigorously. Because, I mean, if you are saying that, but let me just start by saying that you do have those women, all right?
But the number is small.
It's very small.
The number is small.
It's extremely small. And I would also like to say that we have very few men in the globe who have not raped a woman. Because you see, there's whenever a woman says no, and you force yourself, irrespective of the relationship, and you find a lot of those that are happening in intimate relationships where the woman says that I have a headache and you force yourself as a man. It's called rape, irrespective of whether you're paid lobola or not.
Ute,
No. No. We need to understand that no is no. And you cannot say that, the way that he has put it, that it's not called rape. What is it called?
No,
because no, it means it's the lack of consent.
No. You see, I don't want to be the one, you see. I will leave it to the listeners. I don't, because I can be the one. But after this, no, I can be the one. I can respond to that.
Why are you having sex with a woman when a woman says that I have a headache? Because that's a no. I have a headache, it's a no.
The listeners will do that. And I'm not saying I'm not even labeling him, but I'm just saying, we need to be very careful.
Extremely careful.
With what's happening in the country now.
Exactly.
We cannot... let's go to Unati from Cape Town. Unati?
Hello.
Unati, Cape Town, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I'm good, thank you so much. Go for it.
Okay. I would like to ask... good justice way, let's assume that Abandu, they always complain about that he is failing his victims. Then Mamele, minister, almost everyone has been advocating for death sentence to be brought back and all. And then what the minister, that is not an option. It's not going to come back, death sentence. So I'm like to ask him, where's mills the rape? I death sentence. Into your 10 or like a consultation, I know by option, and I know that, and no one can alone those options. We cover the justice system.
Okay, so you want to know what options we have in terms of dealing with perpetrators? Andiva?
He's talking about castration as two things, the way that in Dimfangai.
Okay.
Uti, which is something that is referring to the response that was made by the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services yesterday in Parliament. So he said that a death penalty is not an option because there were political organization in that deliberation who were calling for death sentence.
Yes,
and we know that even the ANC Women's League has raised that, and other women in the country, and also men in the country who are calling for the death penalty to come back. But the challenge, the minister was focusing on the constitution when he responded that way, to say that whatever legislation that we put together and we introduce in Parliament and the Parliament passes, it must not be contrary to the Constitution, because the Constitution,
life,
the right to life, is for everybody. So, but there's something that we are looking at, which was also raised by the president yesterday, that we should consider making our provisions that speak to sentences harsher than they are right now. The Minimum Sentences Act, consider it as to how we can make it harsher than it is right now, because it's already harsh. So it is those issues that we need to. And there was also there's also a consideration that the Department of Corrections is looking at, which was raised by the president as well, that how about then not giving parole to sex offenders?
Right. Ms. Tamara, I think this is a good time to bring you in, especially taking it from the Commission for Gender Equality's side. Now we're stepping into the whole legislation thing. Now we're stepping into the whole constitution of the country. We've just had a caller right now. I don't know if you're listening to that. What is your take on what he had to say?
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm sorry I didn't actually get everything that the that day in Limpopo was talking about. But I also listened to Unati very well. I think his line was clear.
Right.
But I'm going to start from where the legislation and the laws of the country are saying with regards to gender-based violence and femicide.
Mm-hmm.
I think first and foremost, our entry point should actually be around the presence of the Constitution, which is the supreme law that we have in the country, South Africa, which was developed based on a consultation with everyone. So that's why it actually talks about protection of all citizens of the country, irrespective whether you are a child, you are an LGBTIQ person, you are a person with disability, but all citizens of the country. And again, if you look at the Bill of Rights, which is the cornerstone of democracy, it further talks about the rights and the values that we all need to make sure that we observe the values. 3 values in particular. I think the first one really is the right to human dignity. And the second one is the right to equality, so that everyone is treated equally, irrespective. And the last one is the right to freedom. All of these are enshrined in the Constitution as well as the Bill of Rights, and no one is supposed to violate those rights, which is exactly what Advocate Kambula was saying, that if someone says no and you continue to force yourself to that person, you are violating that person's dignity, and you are violating by raping her, and you are violating her human dignity. And I must also point to the fact that there is quite a number of pieces of legislation in South Africa that are directly speaking to the issue at hand, which these pieces are beginning to talk about the Domestic Violence Act. And I know that yesterday in Parliament, after the presidential speech, one of the political parties stood up and was beginning to question or to say that even the DVA Act, the Act itself, needs to be reviewed. And we further look at other, sexual harassment and a number of things, children's acts, all the acts, Child Marriage Act. All of these pieces of legislation were developed to protect the citizens, children, and everybody else. But we find them violated each time in the name of custom, in the name of culture, religion, in the name of the institution. The institution will have these pieces of legislation like the Employment Equity Act. We will have the basic conditions of employment, and all of these you will find them in government departments, in private sector companies, in everywhere. But you will find that triple BEE, all of these are there, but people tend to actually
overlook
them, collect the dust, on shelves, and not implement the prescripts of those acts.
We're going to have to talk about that further, in fact. We're going to have to deal with that. But before we do that, let me take Lydia from Mahikeng. I beg your pardon there, Tamara. I would just have to take this caller quickly. Just hang 10 for me. Let's take Lydia Mahikeng. Lydia, I'm going to ask you to be very sweet and short and to the point. Lines are flashing like crazy. It looks like a disco floor. Good evening to you. Lydia Mahikeng. Let's move on. Let's take Basimani from Rustenburg.
Hello.
Let's move on and take Basimani from Rustenburg.
Hello.
Hi, Lydia.
Yes, I'm there. I just wanted to say, when we talk about violence against women and children, all of us, we must say no, because I've seen that the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children campaign challenges South Africans to place their full support against the scourge. Because I realized that, everybody must say count me in, because violence against women and children ranges from physical, sexual, and economic to physiological.
Yes.
But all of these are violations of human dignity and human rights.
All right.
I've learned that the statistics they are very high now, more than from 2015 until now.
Yeah.
More than is more. So we must. I believe in our country we must really have people those who place full support in the fight against the abuse of women and children through campaigns that take place in conjunction with the 16 days of activism. And then during the 16 days of activism, the trained trauma counselors must offer the free one-on-one, non-judgmental and confidential counseling to anyone seeking help.
That's on another level, That's on another level, which we accept, and which is very, very good what you're mentioning now. But Lydia, knowing that you're from a community radio station, right?
Yes.
I want to spin this thing around, and a thought came to my mind, and I want to ask you this. In terms of what you're saying, all right, how do you think community media can play part in terms of curbing the scourge of GBVF?
Okay. Yeah, in African, like I'm listening to Mathebula FM. Because there are many people. I'm advising them, like I'm teaching them. I'm doing my part, especially through Mathebula FM, because always I'm speaking Mathebula FM to help, especially women and children. Because as we can see even today, the rate of abuse and violence is too high, and then even me, I was even telling them that we can see, because even the word of God said in the last days this will happen. So it needs, always I will say to pray is the best, because the
religious sector must come on board. Yeah.
Yeah. So the owner of our lives, he knows everything. He can change the situation.
Absolutely.
Where we must run to.
Yeah.
Because if he say, God, please help us, I believe as he helped others, he will help us to avoid this.
Very interesting. Yeah.
For men to avoid this, because
it's very interesting what you're saying, Lydia, in terms of the community, the religious sector, to come on board on that one. All right.
But I would like, can I just, because we need to understand what the president said yesterday. He said it's everybody's responsibility. So it is time now that you as a parent at home, you have some kind of discussion with this discussion with your children in your family unit, starting there. And also, we need to have this discourse everywhere. And the business sector needs to shift some budget and for GBVF interventions. Everybody should be involved. So it's not government's responsibility anymore. It's everybody's responsibility to do something. And also, we need also to know that there is an emergency action plan that the president released yesterday, which everyone in the country must participate in. Exactly.
All right, we're going to be exploring that. Let's talk to Basimane from Rustenburg. Basimane, I want you to be sweet and short, straight to the point. I asked Lydia to do that. She went off a tangent, really. It happens every time. Basimane?
I'll try that.
Thank you so much. I'm all right.
Okay. I just want to check with the advocate or your guest.
Okay.
What is the department doing in easing the burden on the victims? Because most of the victims don't come out because they are victimized, firstly, by the perpetrator. Secondly, they are victimized at the police station when they lay charges. Secondly, the lawyers, the defense attorneys who are there are there to tear them into pieces. What is the department doing? Because most people don't come out fearing that it is a cumbersome process to go out because, you are victimized all the way and you end up being the perpetrator yourself. You end up being
Okay.
Yeah. That is my first question. The second question that I wanted to ask, just my mind. I'll call you back now.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Maybe let's start with you, Tamara. Maybe you would like to jump in on those questions, and then we'll come back to you, Advocate. Tamara?
Yes, thank you very much. I think Lydia from the Mahikeng FM is correct in terms of saying, yes, the statistics are very high, and you will remember that not so long ago, I think it was last week, the Department of the South African Police Services and the Minister released the crime statistics for the current for the previous financial year, 2019. And the Minister actually released these statistics that were reflecting the high numbers of murders that have drastically increased. Murders of women to 4,123, and that only actually shows that the numbers are quite high. And in terms of sexual offenses, we have increased by 4.6%, murders 3.4%, sexual assaults 9.6%, rapes 3.9%. All of these are actually pointing to the fact that, yes, even if you look at the Stats SA, comparing 2015 to 2017, the numbers have even doubled by 117%. So what we are saying is that she is quite correct that the numbers are going high irrespective of interventions. But I think when it comes to campaigns that she was referring to, the 16 days of activism, we have been looking at the fact that, yes, in as much as we continue to raise awareness around those 16 days that start on the 25th of November until the 10th of December, but we need to make sure that awareness is raised right throughout the year, and we call these 365 days of activism, of no violence against women and children, so that every day we continue to raise an awareness. And I must actually give you an example and a comparison to say that currently, even now, we are all up in arms because of the media that has actually been able to come out and say these are some of the murders, the murder of 3 children or 4 children by the father in Pinetown, Waybank, and we all make noise, but there are so many unreported cases.
I was just thinking about that now, in fact, that we're talking about these ones that that have been reported that are on the media, but I believe there's tons and tons and tons of those that are keeping quiet, even in their households.
Exactly, and we are saying these family and gentleman agreements are actually killing people and killing women, because you will find that there is a gentleman agreement between Ifemiliga Somkasa, Ifemiliga Mkiza, that actually agrees that you can take my daughter because I have no money, economic or and all of those things. And then there's an exchange of a goat and take her so that I can get those cows. It actually borders on addressing issues of poverty and how these families agree and actually violating the rights of this 12-year-old who is still going to school and without an agreement that, you are part of this conversation, so just go and marry a 60-year-old. So these are the things that we are continuously raising, and I agree with her and the president to say everyone needs to be involved, the religious sector, the cultural sector, individuals at home, families, on how we raise our children. And we are saying we are aware that even today, many families in South Africa are single, are mother-led families, single household and child-headed households. So there is no what we call a role model for this young boy, Usibusiso or Rujon. And these young ones, if, for an example, you happen to be their mother and you get a boyfriend and you quarrel in our houses or we stay in informal settlements, we fight in front of them. They grow up experiencing that on a daily basis, and they go out and they think that's the way to sort out a problem.
It's a pity, really, because now you're bringing up an element of desperation, and there's so many stories that we can tell. You know, you've got women that are desperate in a situation where they feel, if I leave this guy, you know, how am I going to survive?
How am I going
to survive? This guy only told him by 3, and now he's taking care of the 3 kids.
Yes. That's why we need to build the capacity of young women. That's why we need to make sure that young women are empowered, but also young boys, because I think there has always been a single-sided kind of an approach, like other campaigns that are saying take the girl child to work by CELC. I think this time around, CELC in partnership with CGE, we then decided that it's going to be take the girl child, but take the boy child as well to work, because these boys do not have anyone, they don't see any interventions targeted to them. Umhlanga in KwaZulu-Natal and Swaziland, all these reed dance are actually celebrating a young woman and a young virgin, not focusing on a young virgin, engumfana, for an example. So you will find that these things have actually been focusing on young women. And we're saying there's nothing wrong with that. But I think this is time to actually turn the tide, to say, let's see these campaigns led by men. Mhlambe ngempela uma ukuthi siyakhuluma namhlanje siyasho ukuthi ake kube ne-campaign eyamadoda. We have seen some of these things, abo not in my name, but we feel that leyo yidlanzana lamadoda. It's not men spending.
We need to see more.
Together. We need to see more of those campaigns. So ngiyavumelana no leader, yes.
Let's take Stofile from Cape Town. Stofile, sweet, straight to the point, please. Stofile, Cape Town. Stofile going once. Stofile?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, hello, sir.
Yes, go for it. Stofile.
Uye utofile lona.
Thetha nam dad, thetha.
Ya, mamele apha kwizibonele FM, station yabahambi la beAfrika.
Okay.
Mhlekazi masikele kulomba nawe wale nto yomane kubethana nabafazi nabantwana.
Ufuna ukuthetha ngale kubethwa ngabantwana?
Ya, leyo abizwa kwabafazi nabantwana.
Okay.
Utsho ngomkholo.
Yes, utsho.
Yes. Lanto urhulumente okokuqala yena ababenze lanto. Abanye babo bathi ngoba abantu baphinde baphume nangeparole. Abanye bafuna amagqwetha kuthi kwenza uphando phayana, which is abe umuntu ebanjwe right-handed. So iba ingalunga lanto liyana uba xa umuntu ethe wabanjwa kungathiwa no bail kuye ahlale phayana. Okwesibili, urhulumente befuna ukuqesha abantu akhona amadoda afana noTofi angafundanga anongena door to door epatrola kwezi abhatalwe ngoba incinci imali ahambe jonga ngamadoda abetha abafazi nabantwana sinikwe imvubu
kuza okay, yes
singene door to door sinikwe imvubu namahashe ingaphela.
But kalo
sibona ingathi indoda ibetha umfazi
bazabanjwa ababantu bazabanjwa. Kaloku the Constitution also says people must not, you cannot violate somebody in that way. You're not allowed to bet umuntu. In fact, just 24 hours ago, the High Court, was it, released Constitutional Court, Constitutional Court said we're not allowed to bet abantwana bethu anymore.
How much more can you ubona bebulala ke ngokubona bazamthinqa umuntu balala madoda wona azabe patrola adombambe amsipha emthethweni ngoku ngoba amapolisa ayohluleka nabuthi awubabamba abantu ke wena keep on ngokwenzeka lento lena kumane sidwa ngamadoda isimithi sawo, although amadoda amaninzi engekho kuyo lanto against lanto iqhubekayo leyana. So urhulumente yena uba ngabe nathi thina abantu bangafundanga nabantu bangafundanga asinike umthetho ukuthi sihambe door to door singawalungisa la madoda lawa.
wena tatu stofile ndiyavumelana nawe
Oh, you do?
makungenwe door to door
Ngemvubu.
but makungenwe door to door kuyokuthethwa
Okungabethwa.
kuthiwe asiyifuni lento apha
Manje ubaba uStofile uthi no, kuphathwe imvubu. Ababethwe laba bantu. I would love to do that, but I know I'll get arrested.
makuthethwe naba bangabethwa
All right. All right.
For example, sisine bazawubanjwa ngoku ne umntu uyohlala noba yi-10 years pha ubuye ngoku sele enedegree phayana abuye azochambaza apha elokishini ukuthi ya ndanceda ntolo although wena kwenye icala ulahlekelwe
efundiswa ngeteksi yethu
asebenzise iteksi yethu
Masiyeke napho. Masiyeke.
uyalala ungatyanga namhlanje wena kuba ungenanto ukutya aba bantu bayayazi ukuthi ilanti
Ndukuvile tata, ndukuvile tata uStofile from Cape Town. If I leave him, it's gonna go on for years, and I'm telling you, there will be mvubus waiting for some of us outside.
Yeah,
They're
but
telling you.
what is good about him is that he has come up with a solution. It means that he's thinking about
It's just got to be
and
structured
yeah,
correctly.
the only thing is that it needs to
Aina
be
structure.
aligned to
Yes,
law. But
yeah,
he has
but-
done something.
Yeah, but the door-to-door thing I like.
Yes, it's a
Without
great
the-
innovation.
without
yeah,
mvubu,
entering every community. That's what I was going to say is that we need to change the way that we are doing public education.
Okay.
Our public campaigns. We need to have what we are calling now as the Department of Justice is the community participation, ensuring that where we have gone to do education, we involve the community and leave a group of people there who will continue preaching the gospel.
Tamara, your take?
My take is that Utatu Stofile xa ndiyijonga le nto yakhe ukhuluma ngento uthetha ngento ephantsi ifane ne-community policing forum.
Yes.
Sinazo ezi structures kwi-communities and they are linked to a local police station. Abanikwanga ke laa mvume yonto okokubana mabathathe imvubo bayobetha abantu ngoba amapolisa wasebenza ngolo hlobo. So makuqiniswe ke apha kule community policing forum
Which the president raised yesterday.
Which the president raised yesterday. But also enye into endiyithathayo apha kule nto ethethwa ngutata into okokubana unyanisile into okokubana amadoda mahamba ayofundisa amanye amadoda ngokuphatha abafazi. Mhlawumbi ke kuba engumXhosa amaXhosa ayayazi loo nto leyo into okokubana ootata bayafundisa ukuphatha oomama xa beya entabeni. So ke mhlawumbi ke nyhani nale ifuna amadoda awathile awathe go through a process ukuba mawahamba ayofundisa abanye amadoda ngokuphatha abafazi nokuphatha abantwana. Kodwa le yemvubu noko ndithanda ukuyoyika kakhulu.
Nam ndoyika.
Right, Dr.
Ndiyoyika leyo. But le door to door ndiyithandile kuba kaloku loo nto leyo iza kwenzeka into yobana abantu mabafundise ukuthi mabathethe bona bakhuzane. Kwelinye ixesha xa kuya mna kuya no-advocate hayi nina nizifunde phesheya ezi zinto. I had an interview last week ebithetha nge-virginity testing. Ndithe noba ndiyithetha ke le yam kwathiwa hayi nina nifundele phesheya nabuya nazotshintsha ii-cultures zethu apha. So peer-to-peer education ke nyhani ke wena advocate mhlawumbe i-training yethu must be the train of trainers sibashiye bona beyenza le nto bethetha nakakuhle ngelanguage erayithi in those communities. So that's my take into.
But there's another thing, yes, why raise a bail. I don't want us to end without having touched on bail.
Okay.
And which the president also spoke about. As a department now, we are reviewing the provisions of the bail to make them to be victim-centric. Because there's already, in terms of the bail law, there's already a provision that says that the risk factors of the victim must be considered. But now we will see as to how do we make them
To what
tight,
extent?
make them tighter,
tighter,
so that the victim is actually considered in that process in a more visible way.
All right, let's take Mahloho from Turf. You're going to be the last one. Let me ask you,
Yes, I've been listening, Karabo. Good evening, and Advocate Kambula in studio.
Good evening to you. Thank you so much for calling.
Yes, I just want to wrap up this conversation. It's a good conversation whereby everyone must be on the same page. Because I do have a suggestion, because I do back up and also applaud the government for committing itself just to keep this GBVF. Because it's really alarming. The scourge of violence that is really alarming in this country. So I'm just suggesting that if government can house us in one structure, for example, we do away with the women and the main conference just to be housed in one structure so that we can talk about this dilemma and also to view other issues like, for example, we can also invite some.
You mean something like a summit that had happened
but
to
it
be
must
done?
Be gender neutral, yeah.
Yeah, so both genders are represented.
Yes, both genders be in one house.
Will it work?
I think it will work out because
in one sitting.
Yes.
You know, men are saying but you know, women are saying, but you guys are abused. Would it work in one sitting though?
Yes, because some of the men do have this wrong mentality that yes imply no or no imply yes. So we can do away with this kind of wrong mentality from men so that they can understand what we feel as women, because this is a really disturbing situation that we are facing in the country. Yes.
That's a very interesting one. Thank you so much, Matlo, for your call. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Advocate.
But I sort of agree with her.
Yeah?
Because we need to create that platform where we are discussing.
My thing is, are we there yet? In fact, maybe that's what I needed to ask.
All right.
Are we at the point where discussions of this matter can be done in one sitting where both genders are represented at the same time?
So when are we going to arrive? We need to start doing it.
Are we ready to do that, though?
We're going to continue saying that we are not ready and we are talking to women alone and talking to men alone. It is time that the two groups
meet,
engage, and begin to understand why a woman is thinking like this and is saying this.
And listen
exactly.
To it.
But it must be a platform for learning. And when we know that the two groups will be brought to that platform, having been prepared that it's a platform for you to learn, to contribute and to learn, and not to fight.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
And not to fight the other.
Otherwise, okay.
But I think that we need that. Yeah, we need that.
It needs to be explored. We need to we need to find ways to deal with
I
this.
know where you are coming from, and I have been in that school.
You have,
That has been my school of thought. But I think that we really need to combine. We combine. Yes.
All right, great stuff. All right. Let's Tamara, your party notes. It looks like it's time for us to lay it down.
Yes, my parting note is that I think having talked about everything else, we can only concentrate on the presidential speech yesterday because I think it sums up everything.
Yes.
It actually gives hope. It came at the right time after everyone was up in arms, after we realized that we have a serious crisis, a dark cloud hanging over all of us in South Africa. So my parting note is that I think from the CGE perspective and other Chapter 9 institutions, we need to make sure that we support the initiatives, particularly the 5-point strategy that the President talked about, which starts by talking about prevention, mass media campaigns that need to happen, harmful practices be eliminated. And the second area, he talked about strengthening the criminal justice system. We, as Chapter 9, always make sure that we monitor how these criminal justice systems are set up and how they are functioning. And we need to look at the laws that need to be repealed. We need to look at new laws that need to be put in place. We need to make sure that some of the laws, we continue with them in terms of making sure that all the legal reforms and regulations are on par in terms of making sure that there are harsher sentences, there are no bails, there are no paroles. But also we need to work together, civil society organizations, government and everybody else in private sector, we need to have this collaborative approach, because I think for too long we've been working in silos. Everything else has been fragmented, and we hope that the new council on GBV and F will actually be able to coordinate, harmonize all our efforts, and we have one monitoring, we have one strategic plan that is properly costed. We have one monitoring and evaluation framework we report to, and we always make sure that we research and we report and we look at what the data says in the next few months. And again, I'm quite encouraged by the funding that has been pledged for emergency strategy and allocation of 1.1 billion. This time around, I hope, because there is money that has been pledged, things are going to be moving forward. It's going to be a well-organized.
And CGE is amongst the beneficiaries, eh?
Yeah, no, not really.
There was a mention of CGE being strengthened, the resources.
The excitement that you show, of course, yeah.
Yes. But I hope that perhaps our teeth are going to be strengthened, because a lot of people say because we don't have money, we don't have teeth. So
Sharpen the
Thank
you so much.
Thank
Thank you. All right, hang in there, Ms. Tamara. Thank you so much for that. Just hang in there. Advocate, your party notes. We are 3 minutes over.
All right. For us as the Department of Justice, first is to say that we support. We support every initiative that the President raised as an emergency action plan.
Yes.
And we have actually started to work on some of the things that he mentioned. For instance, the amendment of the review of the legislation and all that. We have started with the Domestic Violence Act, but we are saying that with domestic violence, as we're doing the review of the 20 years implementation of the legislation first. The issues of the protection orders and all that, there's going to be such a robust engagement with people, so as to how do we make this legislation work for all of us as women. And the issue of bail as well. Bail is big. Bail is a burning issue. And as a department, we have had, and we have started then to consider those areas as to how do we make it how do we make it tight for the accused, but still respecting the constitutional rights of the accused. It's something that we are looking at. And then the last thing that I can say is that the President said that we must implement 11 sexual offences codes. We're getting on board. We have started that process. We're going to do that. And there's also the issue that he raised as well, that we need then he mentioned something about the Tutuzela care centers that we need to. That's one issue that we looked at and in something that we're going to be doing. And he mentioned the issue of the sex offenders. How about not having releasing the sex offenders on parole, which is something that we need to consider. And my minister will begin to consider those issues, the harsher sentences and all that. So as a Department of Justice, we are saying that we are there and we are moving with fast speed to ensure that we execute everything that the President talked about yesterday.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All hands on deck.
Yes, and if I say that it's gonna be done, rest assured it's gonna be done.
It will be done.
Exactly.
And it does.
Exactly.
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. All right, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. The engagements for this evening. It is 18 after 7 o'clock, way over time, but it was worth it. It was worth it. That's Advocate Praise Kambula, heading up the promotion of rights of vulnerable groups, coming from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Thank you so much for your time for this evening.
Pleasure.
And we've got Ms. Tamara, Mathebula, Chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality, CGE, on the line with us. So thank you so much for taking time to chat to us this evening, Tamara.
Thank you very much.
Excellent team, making sure that this broadcast goes all the way out to you from here. It is Ace on decks. Oh, not on decks. Can I not play music, by the way? Sorry. It's Ace on controls. Ace, thank you so much for the wonderful job done. We've got Victor Pala. Victor is the content producer for this evening. We really appreciate it as well. Victor was feisty when he came in here earlier. Yeah, Victor wants things done. For the first time, I was so passionate about things done, and things done right, and things done on time.
I have a challenge for you when you are done with what we're saying. Yeah.
Should we say it on the air?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It is time that you organize men and have your own organization of men with all this information that you have. I mean, you...
challenge accepted.
Thank you.
Are you going to do some planning, some monitoring?
And bring in the religious sector as well.
Challenge accepted. Nivile again. Okay, we're going to start doing that.
You are such a knowledgeable person on this subject.
We're going to start doing that. I accept the challenge. I really do. I accept the challenge.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much for that, for the challenge as well. And thank you so much to Untitled Chapter. She's on telecommunications and connectivity this evening. We really appreciate the wonderful job that you've done. Somebody that's dropped me, that I'm very sad that she's dropped me on the very important trip that we undertook to Lusigisi. You see, when I go to the Eastern Cape, there's gotta be somebody. Somebody's gotta be there. And there's somebody coming from the video department. No, Ubele. When you go to the Eastern Cape, you gotta have her, man.
Yes.
You cannot go to the Eastern Cape and not have Ubele there. Doesn't work. Thank you so much for the wonderful job that you've done, Nobs. I really appreciate it. 20 after 7 o'clock. Let's meet again next week, same place, same time. Stolo Sabapil Mathebula will be there. Ciao for now.